Hi, this is Charlotte Palmer here from the Mothership Connected with Liba from Extinction Rebellion, and you're from Southgate, aren't you, Liba?
Yes, yeah, I've been living in Southgate since 2003.
And you are one of the founder members of the local Extinction Rebellion group, is that right?
That's correct. I was involved in Extinction Rebellion Haringey beforehand, which is a primary group of North London, before we kind of devolved and formed local groups according to councils, and we've been set up in Enfield since May of last year.
Amazing. So what do you say you're one of the kind of like the original members, like the original people around here to kind of start bringing this kind of, how can I say?
Yeah, that's right. So Extinction Rebellion is about non-violent direct action and civil disobedience, and it's about tackling the climate emergency, which is the greatest threat to us as a species. And XR as a group have been the main group tackling this issue for a long time, for over a year and a half.
So tell us a little bit about XR then, about Extinction Rebellion.
Extinction Rebellion started around September, October of 2018, so about a year and a half, I would say. And since then, they've had several rebellions and several actions taking place in central London. The most recent one was in October of last year, and it was successful in the sense that it raised a lot of awareness, and the public are slowly changing. I feel there's a tide happening where there's changes to be made, and now we're just wanting to follow this up with the councils and the government to create immediate change. And this is why we're here today in Enfield town, to make sure the council actually go through with the motion that they passed last year.
Okay, so would you say that there's a lot of support in Enfield for this kind of thing?
There is widespread report, appeal and kind of encouragement for this, but we need to do more with engaging people from different communities. One of the things that we've seen is we get certain types of people coming to us as a group. We'd like younger people from ethnic minority groups, people who are from disadvantaged backgrounds to join our groups. This is one of the reasons why we're here in this place. We get a lot of people from different backgrounds coming through. We'd like to spread that appeal wider and wider to create a kind of larger network.
Okay, fantastic. And so tell us a little bit more about what, I know that you're doing about the incinerator today. What other kinds of things are you bringing awareness to people around in the local area? Because it's obviously not just about the incinerator, it's a broader thing, right?
That's right, yeah. It's not just incinerator. There's stuff like Enfield Council and their policies to do with planting trees, for example, or their recycling policy, or their fuel policy. For example, one of the things we tried to get Enfield Council to do is change their energy supplier to 100% renewable.
Right.
So that's just an example. And we kind of have meetings, discussions, forums and so forth.
Any success of Enfield Council on that one?
We're in the process of negotiation. We've been since July, June. I met with the leader of the council, deputy leader of the council, along with a couple of other colleagues here, and they were very supportive and very encouraging. However, the progress has been very slow from our part, considering how urgent of an issue this is. We're hoping that they get round to doing something concrete.
What would you say? You think it's about the money?
It's not just the money. That's one of the reasons they have given. There's a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of red tape surrounding this, and lots of other kind of legislative procedures, which have kind of slowed this whole process down. And there's something that we have to kind of work through the kind of current paradigm that we have.
Yeah. So obviously you're doing lots of things within the community, for the community, and working with the council. What other things are you doing? I mean, are you actually talking to people about the little differences, the little changes that they can make personally?
That's part of it. However, XR feel like lifestyle choices are almost insignificant compared to the wider structural changes that need to be implemented. So on an infrastructure level, we need great changes from the government, from laws and from policies, rather than individuals changing, for example, to a vegan diet or buying less plastic or something like this. It helps, but ultimately we need greater levels of change.
Okay, no, you're absolutely right about that one. Yeah, I think that you are. So if you can influence government and councils on that level, then that's where the changes can be made.
That's right.
But obviously you've got to have the community behind you. Yeah?
Yes, we need public support. We need people to back us because this is a publicly run campaign.
Okay.
It's all about getting people who are ordinary from the streets who care about this issue together.
So when you say it's all about the petitions then?
The petitions, from our experience, petitions haven't worked in the past anyway. Petitions are maybe a form of protest, but we found the best form of protest is to be on the streets using non-violent direct action. It causes an inconvenience to some people's lives, however we feel is the only way that we can really tackle this kind of emergency.
That's really great, Lisa. And then are you doing this as well as doing a full-time job?
So fortunately...
the bill with beans on that
yes,
one.
yeah. So fortunately, I work 3 days a week, and I also tutor. So I'm a private tutor. I teach English. I do some other things. I write poetry, perform, and things like this. So I have a set of different skills, let's say. But this is very important issue, so I feel like I can give the time towards it. It helps me in terms of the fact that I have friends already in this network, and sometimes we have fun as well. It's not just about protesting. We can also form friends, and that's solidarity.
Very passionate about it, right?
Yeah.
You're obviously very passionate about it. What actually triggered you to get interested in this?
Just learning about the science, learning about the reality of our situation, which is really bleak at this point in time.
It is.
Our current trajectory is that we are losing 200 species a day, plants, animals, and so forth. We're heading towards mass extinction. Within 10 years, perhaps, we'll have several natural disasters, food shortages, mass migration, and war and conflict. So this is our current trajectory. If nothing's being done, there's going to be a complete collapse of our society as we know it, and that's why it made me feel like I had to do something.
Sure. And that's really great that you're being proactive, Lisa. And how can I say, I don't want to be a devil's advocate, but I just want to put across some other people's points of view about
Absolutely.
this. Okay? Now, some people are saying the climate is changing anyway, okay? But it's just a natural progress and animals get extinct and, you know, the climate and the planet will live on with or without us, and actually we're just in the way. What do you say to that? Yes?
I say look at all the evidence, which is so overwhelming. If you look at plastic pollution, if you look at ice caps melting, if you look at all of the statistics that science has shown, sea levels rising and the temperatures and sea level change, it's overwhelmingly caused by human activity, and this is something different to all of the other mass extinctions that happened. This is the sixth mass extinction happening. There's been 5 others, but this is the only one caused by humans specifically.
Well, I think that's pretty obvious, isn't it? But we know that the climate is changing naturally anyway, and our pollution on top isn't helping at all. To be even more out there and kind of, how can I say, devil's advocate, David Icke says there's a massive big corporate investment in the idea of getting people to be very fearful about the climate so that they have to pay more taxes. What do you say to that one?
I'd also say David Icke, from my limited knowledge of what he's talking about, is of course he's known as a conspiracy theorist and he comes up with these kind of ideas. There might be some truth in this, however, we know that it's going to disproportionately affect the people who are poorest in our society and the people who are of indigenous peoples, people who live in nature all their lives, people who live in lesser economically developed nations and countries, and it's clearly not fair on them, so it cannot be some conspiracy.
I agree. Now, obviously we know that people in poorer countries, they are being impacted directly. And people in richer countries like here, we're impacting them, right? The problem we've got now is that we have a disparity between the rich and the poor. And the poor people, in generally, can't really afford to make sustainable choices. I know that you're not acting or being proactive around people making personal choices, but we all could benefit from making a few personal conscious choices.
Absolutely.
But it's very difficult to make conscious choices when the conscious choice is more expensive. There needs to be a change in the way that our economy is running around that. Would you not agree?
Yes, that's partial solution. I think, for example, not flying is obviously the cheaper option, so you're causing a lot less damage doing that.
Yes,
I guess the other ways, like if you don't have a car or private transport, which I guess rich people tend to have, then that's going to cause a lot more destruction. I would also say diets, actually vegetarian food can be cheaper than eating meat, I would argue, if you buy the right stuff. Maybe if you don't buy free range or organic, I understand that it's going to be more expensive, but generally I think you can have quite low impact lifestyle whilst being frugal, whilst not having much money. So it is possible, but I also say changing the economic paradigm is incredibly important.
I would say
Our
it's pretty
incentives.
much key. I'd say it's key because what we have now is that the disparity is growing wider and wider, and the current government policies are actually affecting us so badly that only rich people can make those kind of conscious choices and make healthy choices for themselves as well.
Yeah.
And the problem is that all the vegan vegetarian options in supermarkets are full of toxic ingredients, and they're depleting the soils, and they've got lots of corporate interests around that as well, by the way. I don't know if
Absolutely,
you're aware of that.
yes,
That's
it's called
my area.
greenwashing.
Yes, it is. It's called greenwashing, because I'm a food specialist, and I'm writing about the way that in which we're being brainwashed and coaxed into going on diets that don't suit our metabolic types, which are sometimes inferior for us, so that the big corporate companies can make a lot of money.
That's right.
And create these huge big mono fields of food, I know that's what you're not here to do right now. You're here to talk about the incinerator.
But this is part of it. Agriculture is incredibly important in terms of our food and how we feed ourselves, and that's a big part of the climate crisis as well. As you know, significant portion of the emissions being created is through the meat industry and through the factory farming industry, and that's something that XR has talked about. There's a specific group within Extinction Rebellion called Animal Rebellion. They're slightly different, but they focus specifically on this issue of agriculture, environment, and animal welfare.
I would say that there are many issues around animal welfare, and I would also say that the emissions from animals have been overly inflated. A lot of films will tell you it's 50%, but it's actually 15%, and actually has serious problems with palm oil and soya.
That's right.
And the fashion industry, by the way, is the second biggest polluter of the environment. Let's not forget that. We all need to wear clothes, yeah? So there are bigger issues at large. And I personally, I'm an ex-vegetarian. I had chronic fatigue from being vegetarian. And I've seen a lot of people be unwell on those kinds of diets. So I don't think that you can't just pinpoint something and go, that is the answer, let's all go veggie. Because it can cause a lot of other problems.
I completely agree with that.
I think it's bigger than that. And I do think you need to lobby the government to make everybody's wages better. So we can afford to make more conscious choices, right?
Yes, that's right. They say the two best lifestyle choices you can make is not fly and change your diet, but beyond that, the bigger changes are the policy changes. And a massive part of it is consumerism and materialism, really. It's the idea that we're buying too much. We're in this culture of buying, wanting.
Yeah.
So it's about stopping this and creating a different economic incentive.
Definitely. I think it's a shame, actually, because we've become so accustomed to consumption that consumption has become God now. We're all kind of worshipping shopping, going to Mecca to shop, and it's misguided.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get anywhere. It's not true abundance, it's not true richness.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think that's a beautiful message to end on. Tell everybody that's watching and that's listening about your Facebook page, or how to contact you, or how to get involved.
Sure, absolutely. So we're Extinction Rebellion Enfield, and you can visit us on a Facebook group. We have a Facebook page and a group. You can come to our meetings, which happen at the King's Head every second Wednesday, upstairs in the room, 7:30 to 9 o'clock. Just welcome. Anyone and everyone is welcome to join us.
Amazing. Wow. Thank you so much, Liba. This is Charlotte Palmer from Mothership Connected. I was here with Liba from Extinction Rebellion in Enfield Town. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for watching and listening. Bye.
Stop the education. Stop